Hey, I'm back. This is part two of WorkAway. I'm going to share with you some of my journal, talk about that trip. This year, my trip was driving. Usually, I fly and then stay in one location and kind of work out from there. But this year, we went um, on a car journey. So it's WorkAway. That's where I take 1 month out of the year and I work from somewhere else in the world. And that has a lot of things. One, it keeps me fresh, keeps me bright, teaches me new stuff, and it allows me to also see clients that are in different places. So this time I got to visit some of my clients. We did a lot of land tours, looked at a lot of property while we were gone. That I happened to be out visiting some like different projects so I could see that project live, not just on the phone, because I am a business advisor. That's what I really do for a living. And as a business advisor, uh, I am working with many different kinds of businesses. And so seeing the world and seeing how different people do things really allows me to just get a different feel for how do other people do stuff. And I get to watch. I get to watch a lot of things. And because I am, what would you call that? Keenly interested, keenly, um, overzealously interested in how people do things and what they're interested in and just how does it work, right? How do they do their business? What made them do it? I get to see on those trips a lot of artists. I get to see into their maker space. And I get to see a lot of different products that are created regionally. And the things that work regionally are very interesting to me. So what WorkAway has done, and I'm coming up on my 10-year anniversary next year. So what has 10 years of this done for me? Boy, a lot. But this trip was, the destination was North and South Carolina. I had made the incorrect assumption that I could get North and South Carolina done at the same time. I cannot. So really, we got some time in North Carolina. And North Carolina as a whole was completely unexpected. What I was going there for, again, I take a map and I print it out of the state so I can kind of get an idea of the picture of what's the size, where am I going. And this just helps me kind of get an overall picture of where I'm going. The United States is ridiculously large. So going from one state to another, you'd think it was all the same. It's not. And so my goal was to get to this Gorges State Park. And then on the back, so I'll print out stuff. So how do I do it? Right? It's a month away. It's 30 days. And so you figure out where you're going, what you want to see. And then I start to think about what is it that it would be interesting for me to do. I had made a goal when we were going to some of the other areas that I wanted to see every rainforest that we had on the continental United States. So this was the final one. And a rainforest is decided, right, and how much rain it gets. So Gorges was where I was going. So there was lots to do. And the big deal for me was to get to these waterfalls. And that is a hike. Oh my gosh. So I have a whole nother video on that day, which is it worth it? It's worth it. It's worth it. But it's a hike. It's a trolley. I mean, that like you're walking. It's no deal. So anyway, Gorges State Park is actually in Sapphire, North Carolina. So if you're looking for like where is it, it's in Sapphire. It's on the border of North and South Carolina. So we went there, and I love the way that it explained itself. First of all, out of every dangerous situation I have been in hiking, Gorges wins for the best signage for you're risking your life. That there was always a note that said, people die here. Please don't do this. People die here. And my favorite was when they added it that people die here and so do their dogs. Because people always, I think that is true, that sometimes we forget that nature can hurt us. right? We want to go, we're so used to seeing wildlife in a zoo, or seeing things through a picture that we don't have a healthy fear of those things. And a waterfall like this is that Gorges has kind of their largest, it's kind of the most massive one that's there. So it is worth seeing, and it's kind of great. And there's rocks, and you feel like you want to get near it, and you know it can kill you. So they win on best signage. So it is also called the Appalachian Temperate Forest. So anyway, and then you have the Smoky Mountains there, and the Smoky Mountains are their own jam. I mean, they were so beautiful. So anyway, there's a lot to do. An extraordinary rainforest experience filled with lush, thick canopies high overhead. The waterfalls seemingly around every bend. I did not know how many waterfalls I was going to come up against in North Carolina. And North Carolina has also, these amazing beaches. So we also stayed down in Southport. So we went through that, and Southport had so much to offer. We stayed in Oak Hill, and really, you know, cute waterfront towns, seafood, things like that. But Gorges is extraordinary. I think in general, it is a strenuous hike. There is no doubt. I've hiked a lot, and it was a lot. In that hike, and I'm a big person, right? So I'm a full-figured woman that gets about, you know, I walk about 3 miles a day easy. You need to be, you know, at least walking that, because that is really a 5-mile hike. They say it's not, but it's really 5 miles, and it's 5 miles going like this, you know, and it's a lot of work. It is effort. So I'll put pictures and stuff up, but you know, be attentive to it. On WorkAway, my goal is, one, to work. I have to work, but it is also to really experience the land. And because we were on a road trip, because we were living out of our car and out of you know, places for a day or two. So we would stay in a hotel, and we would stay in a hotel depending on how much work I had, maybe 2 days, maybe 3 days, maybe 1 day. But we were going to spend a larger amount of time in Charlotte because one of our clients has a bed and breakfast business there. So we stayed right in one of their Airbnbs, actually. And in that, we also did a lot of land tours because I have clients out there. So I got to see a lot of different parts of North Carolina. I really wished that I would have spent all of my time in North Carolina. But I was glad that I could get a peek at all the other states. It was time consuming to have put that many miles on. I'm so used to just flying that 1,000 miles. In that month, we put on 33,900 miles. That's a lot of miles for, you know, goofing around. Even if you were somebody that drove a lot in the city, that had a large commute, you max out at about 500 miles in a week. For somebody who spends a lot of time in there, remember, you know, these are highway miles too. So we really put on the miles. North Carolina, I think, is undiscovered for the amount of things that you can do while you're there. I think that we also got to go through Kentucky and Tennessee. Tennessee also, wow. Of course, I had to see Dolly Parton. Kentucky, had to go to the Kentucky Fried Museum. That Tennessee, oh yeah, here I have my Sun Sphere, the Sun Sphere World's Park Fair. Had to go see that. It's this giant golden ball that is in Knoxville. Knoxville has a lot of things going on in Tennessee. So I was glad we got to kind of go through there. It gave me a chance to kind of see a little bit of Tennessee. When you go through all of the tourist stuff, it's like overwhelming, right? Because we're not that far from Dollywood. That Dollywood and Pigeon Forge are like mini mini Vegas. I mean, it's crazy. So if you're going to Dollywood, wow, Tennessee's your jam. This was the first time that Tennessee was the first thank you card that I had ever received from work staff. So one of the things that I will always do when I'm traveling is I pay attention. And I pay attention to who's working and what are they doing and so forth. But I saw this husband and wife team, they were cleaning the rooms. And I happened to be working right outside of Knoxville for a few days. And so I had to be in my room. That on those days for me as a, because I'm a business consultant, that's what I do. And so on those days, I mean, I'm in my room on the phone, 6, 8, 10, 12 hours, talking and working and doing math because that is great. And, just doing planning. And every time I would come out to take a breath or to go to the car or whatever, these two were working. And I would, they were working as hard as I was. So I went and got them just something. And that happens for me a lot where I'll notice someone who's excellent and then I will respond. So I just went and got them a cute little gift from the grocery store. I looked at their cart of what they were cleaning, that they really liked Dr. Pepper. So I got them a Dr. Pepper. The next day, when I went to go give them the gift, it was later in the week. And they were now drinking not name brand Dr. Pepper, but the store brand of Dr. Pepper. So I bought them a big thing of Dr. Pepper for the drink while they're working. And they had told me, they're like, oh, good, a real one. Because they were running low on money. So that they were glad to have a thankful Dr. Pepper. So I just put a little money in their thing and said thank you and just let them know. And the next day, as I was checking out, they're like, are you leaving? And they had a thank you card to my door within, I don't know, 10 minutes. They're like, you're giving all this? Yep, I am. Yes, I am. Because you guys are working it. They were kind. I have never had someone wash my door in a hotel. That they literally, not only were they cleaning everything, but they washed my door to make sure it was clean. They washed every surface in that hotel. And they didn't do it because somebody told them to do it. They did it because it was the right thing to do. And that's what they do, is they make it really clean. And my room was really clean. So anyway, got to meet them. And as I was leaving, they come out and they go, well, we just wanted to tell you, if you're coming back again, we got somebody offered us another job that pays us more. And I said, well, if you can make more money, then do it. And I said, aren't you guys working full time? She said, yeah. She goes, they're going to give us $2 more an hour each. I said, look, that's $8,000 a year. She looked at me and she goes, are you kidding me? No, if you're working 2,000, so I explained to her how that math worked. And she just thought, wow, $8,000. I mean, I think she had bought a car in her mind at that point. So that was interesting. So got to meet Tennessee. I could spend a month in Tennessee. I don't know that my husband could spend a month in Tennessee, but Tennessee had lots of beautiful places. Again, the Appalachian Trail is through there. The Appalachian Trail was beautiful and magnificent. So if you haven't looked up the Appalachian Trail, runners really know a lot about this trail. The Appalachian Trail has lots of stories on it, and it goes like all the way up to Maine. So it's a long trail. So we spent some time there. I have a lot of pictures from that in my thing. The other thing I did a lot was journal. And I think that's another thing that on WorkAway, this happens to be my travel journal. So what I do is I have a tracker in here, but I'll put together my travel goals and pictures and things of places that I want to go. And so this is something that I work on all the time. What I did, I don't know, a while ago, is I gave myself an imaginary budget. And in that imaginary budget, I kind of figured out, well, what would I do? Right? It's one thing to go, oh, I want to travel the world. Well, you got to have a plan. So this is a little travel journal, whoops, that stuff falls out of the things that I wanted to do. So I spent a lot of time with my journal. And last year, when I was doing my journal, I pulled this out last year to my husband, and I said, well, now that we have some time alone, I'd like to talk to you about a few things. And, you know, of course, any man whose wife says, I'd like to talk to you about a few things, and I have them in this book, they instantly, their heart pangs with fear that he's just like sure that he'd like to be invisible at that time. So I wanted to just know, here were the things I was thinking about for the travel that I wanted to get done. And I had explained to him that I had given myself an imaginary budget of $250,000. Of if somebody gave me $250,000 tomorrow, what would I do? All right, how would I spend it only on travel, right? If somebody had said to you, I'll give you this money, but you can only use it to see the world. Well, what part of the world do I want to see, right? I mean, I could have spent that on just 10 cruises. So I started this journal and kind of worked through it with him. And so one of the things that I like about this idea, this concept is to kind of keep some of your travel ideas together. And so it's also the things that you want to do with your time. And so the travel journal, it's thick. I put stuff in it. I color, I do stuff in general in this. But it is kind of a rainy day project where I'll just kind of look at it. It's not a daily thing. So I worked on my travel journal a lot. And that's also, so now I've had that travel journal long enough where I'm actually living what I had put down as the goal. So the things that I thought were going to happen for me in this trip in North Carolina, other than Gorges, nothing, I couldn't have planned or imagined that I would have as much fun as I did, because it's such a varied landscape. The landscape changes a lot. I mean, from big city to small town, there's lots of history and culture there that you can't always see right on the surface. And getting to North Carolina and getting to have to go through Kentucky, Indiana, Tennessee, Wisconsin. I spent a lot of time in Wisconsin. But getting through those, Wisconsin is where we had the loose emus happen. That was pretty funny. Also, that is, if you were following my trip, Wisconsin was actually where that great spaghetti and meatball pizza was. Oh, it was epic. I ate that pizza on the road for days. But getting through Tennessee was a surprise. I would go back to Tennessee. Indiana was a surprise. I talked about that in a different video. But North Carolina, Gorges was great. I was glad I did it. There's a lot of hikes. There's a lot of trails there. There's a lot of waterfalls. I didn't know that I would find so many waterfalls there. I think if I were going to call the travel bureau, I would say, you should probably up the waterfall conversation. So I did a lot of journaling. I did a lot of journaling on projects, on things that I like to do. I make a folder for each trip, and then I start to kind of put in the things that I'm doing, right? So on this one, I went through, I put maps in there. I put, things that I pull through so that I can also remember the story that's there. And for my benefit, it is really that I need the pieces of paper. So some things I will plan in advance, some of the places I know where I'm going, but I just need the physical address. One of the tips that I always give people is if you're doing a big trip, is the reason that you want the pieces of paper is because sometimes your phone will die. And sometimes you don't know the actual address. So when I was in Florida and my phone died and I was alone, and luckily I had a phone that I could go to the phone store and buy again, but I had to ask somebody, a stranger, like, hey, do you know where the nearest Apple store is? And they had to be able to give me what I had. And one of the things that happened is that I had all that information in my phone of where I was going, but I also had the file back at where I was staying, but I sure didn't know the address of where I was staying. So one of the things that I've learned is that I have to have a paper file while I'm traveling. And I have to have a paper file that stays in the car. Because if, again, I lose my phone or have it stolen, or if I, like in Florida, have a wave come up and get my phone wet, then I know how to get back to places. So this is a simple trip that's there. North Carolina, worth it, worth it, worth it. One of the things that I also like about these little towns, this was in Southport, where they kind of give you like a tourist map of just that area. They're just hyper specific, and they're usually put out by what's the word I'm looking for? The travel bureau. What I like about these is it helps me start to understand kind of the breakdown of the area. I usually pick these up. They gave it to me at the hotel, but it helps me kind of map out the area. And Oak Park was really Oak Island. It was Oak Island. Oak Island is just adorable. So it's a place that I really enjoyed. That it's touristy. It's touristy, but it's quiet. And there's beach, and that's fun. So in all, what did I learn on this trip? What I learned on this trip is flying is better, but car ride is fun. I'm glad that this was the only month-long car ride that we've done in 10 years. So I'm glad I did it. And I'm glad that we got to go through 11 states and see lots of different things. So the other thing is that Tennessee was a surprise, and North Carolina, worth it, worth it. And yeah, so I'm home. I'm home, glad to see you, and I hope you are traveling. And I can't wait to hear your stories as well. All right, see you.